Okay, hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. So, if you're looking for Ukraine war news, I do this every day. In the morning, I do this daily brief, and in the evening, I do three big stories that will shape the war. Okay, let's jump right in. 1,360 Russians off the battlefield today, 8 tanks. 14 armored fighting vehicles, 42 artillery systems, 62 vehicles and fuel tanks. So this is actually a pretty significant uptick from what it's been recently with the 1360. The fighting in Pokrovsk is really what you want to focus on. This was 1 month ago, like 31 calendar days ago, and this is where they are now. Let me go back and show you again. They've made some significant progress, and yeah, I think you can account for a lot of what's going on with those numbers there. This is Greg Terry and I talked just the other day. He could see the smoke from, he could see Novokrika here on fire when he was in Pokrovsk. Okay, so that's the reality of the battlefield on the ground there. Um, and that's what Russia really wants. This is Andrew Perpetua. He's the one that takes the list of everything going on. And look, this is terrible. This is a little bit worse than 1-to-1. He tabulates how many vehicles and things have been destroyed and that sort of thing. And he said this today. In 12 hours, I broke down 142 vehicles in 443 events, 255 of which were drone attacks, 54. So that right there tells you just like how drone heavy this war has been. It's significant. The drones have changed everything, and it's significant. 54 vehicles damaged, destroyed, abandoned, and 69 Russians killed. That's just the video I did personally, and we're not even close to being done with the number of videos published today. That's 12 hours. This is what the guy does every day. God bless him for that. Okay. On the night of August 31st, 2024, Ukrainian air defenses shot down 24 Russian Shahed drones during a large attack. 25 crashed independently, so that's 24 plus 25, likely due to electronic warfare measures. Now, whether they all of those 25 were electronic warfare or some hit something or crashed on their own just because they're poor quality or whatever it is, I don't know. But I weirdly take comfort in about 50 of these being sent because that means they're not saving up for a rainy day when they do that. This is how the Russians work. I've just watched them long enough that that's how I understand how they operate. Okay, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky dismissed Lieutenant General Olechuk, the Ukrainian Air Force commander, on August 30. So what we know is that a F-16 just crashed, and we don't know why it crashed, whether it was shot down or whether it crashed because of user error, or it could have been, there's speculation that it could have been a Patriot that actually accidentally shot it down. We just don't know yet, but he was getting involved with a kind of a spat with a member of parliament over this. Mr. Zelensky did not specify the reason for dismissing Lieutenant General Olechuk, but said he had a responsibility to take care of all our warriors. So that doesn't sound like a positive, attaboy, good job. That sounds like you weren't doing your job like you should have. Even though it happened during a barrage of Russian missiles, this is the F-16 that went down, Ukraine said the cause of the crash was not a direct result of an enemy strike. It could have been that, but apparently they're saying it wasn't that, but we don't know what it was. And this general sparred with some politicians over who was to blame for the loss. So it wasn't a good look, and I hate to lose a good guy over political things, but maybe there is some more to the story that we just don't see. And we have to be humble enough to recognize that we're not necessarily going to see the whole story. Okay. Day 4 of the blaze at Russia's Atlas oil depot in Kamensky district of Rostov Oblast. Initially, 2 fuel tanks caught fire after a drone attack. This was back on like Monday or Tuesday. I guess it was Tuesday, 4 days ago. Russian firefighting efforts appear to be not that effective because it's still going. It's pretty significant what was hit there. Okay, Airstrike on hangars with Russian equipment somewhere at the front. Doesn't say where, but if you watch the video, yes, I mean, this was, here's the still, here's the after effect, right? So I'm not showing the video for YouTube. As a result of yesterday's attack on Kharkiv. No, so what you just saw here was an attack on Russian military equipment somewhere, right? What you see here, well, you're not seeing it here because I'm not showing the video, is a result of yesterday's attack on Kharkiv, 6 dead, among them a 14-year-old girl killed near a playground, 80 wounded, including 22 children and a 10-month-old infant. As a result of the enemy strike on Kharkiv, 7 people, same incident, but 7 people went up to 97 people wounded, 22 of them children, right? Because the Russians are attacking what is essentially a war crime, both in the attacking of children and the attacking of civilian properties, and nobody's batting an eye anymore. So this meme or this picture with the woman that somebody wrote onto the, I'm pretty sure this wasn't an actual thing, but somebody wrote on there. Why? But it's a great question. Why do you protect Russian military objects better than Ukrainian civilians? Like, we really need to get to the answer for that. Like, what is going on? Why hasn't our policy shifted where innocent Ukrainians are being protected more than we're protecting the interest of Russian war objects? Okay. And this is Ambassador Bridget Brink here saying this afternoon, Russia struck an apartment building in Kharkiv with a guided aerial bomb, killing several and injuring many, including children. Our thoughts are with people of Kharkiv as rescue operations are underway. Ben Hodges replied to that ambassador, it's U.S. policy that protects Russia's ability to do this. Please convey to the administration why this terrible policy undermines U.S. strategic interests in Ukraine. And it really does. Okay, building on fire in Moscow. I don't know whether this is related or not. You know, there could be independent fires, but the reason I'm showing this is because of the commentary involved in it. Building on fire in Moscow. Fire area is already over 1,000 square meters. There's no quick way to put out fires in Russia. Even in Moscow, all the money and equipment are being used to kill Ukrainians. Okay, but he's being a little hyperbolic. It's not all the money's being used, but they are disproportionately using their resources in order to persecute Ukrainians, to prosecute the war, to spend it over here as opposed to over there. Think about North Korea and how much money they spend on their military, including missiles, as opposed to feeding their people. It's the same kind of thing, just on a smaller scale. Another destroyed column of Russian armed forces in Kursk direction. A vital Russian transport bridge was destroyed, okay, in the Kursk direction. And here, in any case, there are casualties, but they keep quiet. We have everything under control, they say. This is the same incident here. Another column of the Russian army was destroyed in the Kursk region, as well as an attempt by the Russians to organize a crossing of the Sim River near a broken bridge. An engineering construction and 2 groups of engineering equipment were destroyed, says the Belgorod People's Republic. Okay, it's a Telegram channel. And yeah, I mean, it's not working out so well up there. Very minor advances. This was yesterday. Very minor advances near Kursk. There's really not a lot to report there. In other news, U.S. refuses to send contractors to Ukraine to maintain F-16s. It's a decision that follows the loss of the first F-16 on 28 August. Officials raised safety concerns over Russia potentially targeting American contractors, say U.S. officials. Russian court rules a 20-year sentence for a Ukrainian POW for defending Mariupol is not enough. Now, first, he shouldn't be sentenced in a court. He should be a POW and treated to the laws of war, right? I mean, he should be in a POW, held as a POW, and exchanged as a POW when that happens. So this military court of appeal in Moscow has increased an illegal sentence passed earlier against Ukrainian prisoner from 20 to 23.5 years in the maximum security imprisonment. Well, they really don't like this guy. So what ought to be done here is he ought to be treated like all other POWs and potentially exchanged. And this is just another reason that Russia must be defeated here so that justice can be served for this guy who is not going to spend the rest of his life or most of the rest of his life in a maximum security arrangement when he's a POW. You're supposed to be fighting the enemy when you're a soldier. That's kind of the idea. Okay. Switching gears, this YouTube channel community has now hit 500,000 subscribers. So congratulations, Jake, bro. I'm not jealous. I'm happy for him. I'm not quite to 70,000, and I'm almost to 70. And I am so excited that people like Jake and Arthur and Dennis and others are having the significant success that they are, because like we're the only real news that people are seeing. You YouTubers are like, so my daughter told me about this, and I was like, just sighing. She's in a world history class that's populated mostly by freshmen. Okay, and the professor's asking what's happening in Ukraine. Only two people knew what was going on, including my daughter. So there's only one other student there. So my daughter better know, right? But there's only one other student in that class that had any idea what was going on in Ukraine, and that's tragic. Okay. Meanwhile, while Jake is having this success, he also just completed that $1 million fundraiser, because this kind of thing is happening. Imagine having to fight a war against Russia, and you're in Ukraine, and you have to do like fundraisers. Dear readers, Ukraine's 17th Tank Brigade, fighting on for the liberation of Volchansk. Volchansk is just above Kharkiv. Urgently needs night vision drone. Please help us. Like, but that's why this is important. All right. Last little bit, I want to show you this. Instead of 1,000 words, they finally meet again after 2.5 years in Russian captivity. Imagine that. Separated for 2.5 years. Wow, 2.5 years. And then, like, I wouldn't let go either. I get it. All right, my friends, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the likes and the shares and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.